Russia, as part of their sophisticated information and disinformation operations, engage actively with so-called non-governmental organizations, environmental organizations working against shale gas, obviously to maintain European dependence on imported Russian gas. That's my interpretation.
It's very interesting because protesters, whether you agree with them or not, you might admire their fervor. What is being said here by an extremely powerful, influential and experienced man is, whoa, no, there's a major nation state, Russia, behind much of this. Now, Ezra Levant, I don't think he's a stranger to Sun News, is he? But as well as his broadcasting and activism and a certain profile in the press, he's an author, written several books, and his latest, Groundswell, The Case for Fracking. We're going to talk about that now. That clip was fascinating because this is someone claiming, and this is not some crazy person on a blog.
He's the head of NATO.
He's the head of NATO, that Russia is involved with, behind much of the protesting.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be surprising. The head of Russia is a former KGB agent. And we know that during the Cold War, the KGB infiltrated Western NGOs too. Example you're surely familiar with, the British coal miners' strike, which was a grave blow to the West's industry. That was supported by KGB money. I know that sounds conspiracy theory-ish, but it was proved after the Berlin Wall fell. Do we really think that Vladimir Putin lacks the know-how to subvert a Western NGO, lacks the motive to do so, lacks the means? Gazprom is the 51% Kremlin-owned natural gas company. It's the largest in the world. It's a source of enormous money for Russia, but even more importantly, power, because many European countries get the vast majority, if not all of their energy from Gazprom. Scandinavia, the Baltics, even Germany gets a third of its energy from Gazprom. And so it's not just the price and the profit. When Vladimir Putin doesn't like you, he changes the price on you. He jacks it up for a political reason. And 3 times now, he has simply cut off Ukraine, just cut off all the energy as a political punishment. So my point is this. When we think about fracking and the debates in Canada over fracking, yeah, there's liberals and Tories and Greens and Blues, but this is a much bigger fight. Vladimir Putin and the OPEC countries do not want fracking to catch on because they want to keep their monopoly over much of the world. If fracking catches on, the whole world will have cheap, plentiful, clean natural gas. Vladimir Putin and OPEC doesn't want that to happen.
For the uninitiated, what is fracking?
Fracking is short for hydraulic fracturing. It's a process that you do to a well once it's been drilled. So it's not drilling itself. You drill a hole a mile and a half deep underground into a porous rock called shale. It's like a rock with tiny little sponge-like pores with oil and gas. It would be like drilling into, if regular drilling is like drilling into a watermelon, you can suck the juice out. But what if you drilled into an apple? You know there's water in it, juice in it, but the straw wouldn't help. What fracking does is under high pressure, it makes trillions of little cracks in the shale a mile underground, and it props those cracks open with grains of sand. Then the water's taken out, and the natural gas or oil flows from those pores for years or decades. So fracking or fracturing is just a brief process to crack the ground a mile underneath. It's way deeper than any water table. That's why there's never been a reported case of drinking water that's been contaminated by fracking.
But there are so many, there are several claims.
Oh, that endless claims, because, you know, first of all, there may be other reasons why someone's water is dirty, and blaming fracking, you know, may make sense or may be a good way to get attention. And there's a lot of money at stake here. If you can accuse a natural gas company of poisoning your water, you might get rich. There was a famous case out of Texas where someone lit his garden hose on fire and held it up. Well, that went to court in 2012, and Judge Trey Lotfin found that that fellow hooked his garden hose up to his barbecue natural gas
It was
valve.
that blatant?
Yeah, and it was proved in court. But he was trying to shake down a company for an enormous amount of money. Where there's money, there are scammers. Now, fracking can transform a whole jurisdiction. Let me give you the example of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a Rust Belt state. It was coal and steel, and it was going down. Unemployment was very high. And then they discovered this shale rock, this porous rock with lots of natural gas in it. And about 5-10 years ago, they started fracking. Pennsylvania is the most fracked state in America. More natural gas there than Texas. And so in 5 years, 200,000 new jobs, tens of billions of dollars, billions in tax revenue. And the average home in Pennsylvania now pays $1,000 a year less for energy because natural gas is so cheap and plentiful. I've been down in Pennsylvania a few times to see how it's renovated, rejuvenated that state. And I keep thinking, why can't we do that in New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, even Quebec? There's shale in all those provinces. There's shale in every continent in the world. There's shale in South America, in Australia. Imagine who has the most to lose. You know, there's a good rule in journalism, follow the money. Mm-hmm. Or you could say it in Latin, qui bono, who benefits? Who benefits from blocking natural gas fracking and shale? Well, the people who have the current monopoly. Just like OPEC hates the oil sands because the oil sands is a competitor, well, gas OPEC, Russia and Qatar and Iran hate fracking because that breaks open their monopoly. 10, 15 years ago, natural gas in North America hit $12 per MCF. Now we're paying, what, $4? That's fracking for you.
So the campaign against fracking is losing. Your side, the right side, you would argue, is winning? Well,
it depends where you look. I mean, in Pennsylvania, fracking is here to stay, and in a lot of other states. New York, they banned it. In Canada, the pro-fracking party lost in New Brunswick. Quebec has a moratorium, so do other parts. So it's where fracking is done in Canada, that's the rich, happy provinces, BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan. Where it's banned, Nova Scotia, for example, those are the poorer provinces, New Brunswick. Europe is the real battleground because Europe is where Gazprom sells its gas. There is an enormous amount of natural gas shale in Poland, in Germany, in France, in Ukraine, and in quite a number of European countries. You can imagine how Vladimir Putin cares about that.
And how nervous the Baltic states, Poland, Ukraine in particular will be. I mean, the proximity is immediate. They're nervous of provoking Russia.
That's right. And that's the thing. I say again that Gazprom is 51% owned by the Kremlin. They've declared it a strategic company, like the McCoy and Gurvich fighter jet company. So Putin personally approves every pricing deal with every country. So if you get on the wrong side with Putin, maybe he'll jack up your natural gas imports by $1 billion a year. Or if you do him a favor, maybe he'll reduce them. If you ban fracking, maybe he'll cut you a little deal. If you start to develop your fracking, maybe he'll jack up your prices. It's not the free market. When Vladimir Putin decides how much you pay for energy in Poland, in Germany, you are not buying from a regular supplier. You're buying from your enemy. I was wondering, well, why isn't the West putting tougher sanctions on Russia? Well, the answer is natural gas from Gazprom. How can you put sanctions on your energy supplier? You're lucky he doesn't put sanctions on you. One day, Europe will develop its natural gas and oil reserves. And then it'll be free not just of Russia, but from OPEC too. The further into the future Vladimir Putin can kick that can, the richer and more powerful he will become.
Fascinating. People should read the book, decide for themselves. That's what we're asking.
Thanks, my friend.
Appreciate it. Thank you.